She called me her safety net, right in front of her ex. I still remember the taste of bile in my throat as those words spilled from her lips like acid. It was a Friday night. Madison had insisted we attend a casual dinner with an old friend visiting town. She wore the red dress I bought her for our anniversary, the one she swore made her feel like a goddess. I thought it was for me. But when we stepped into that restaurant, and I saw him, I understood everything. Liam Hayes. Her ex. The same man she once described as a toxic mistake. Now smiling at her like no time had passed. She rushed into his arms like I wasn't standing right beside her. As if I didn't exist. "Caleb, this is Liam," she said, her voice airy, almost amused. "Liam, meet my safety net." She laughed. He laughed. I didn't. It took everything in me not to flip the table right there. But I swallowed my pride, plastered on a fake smile, and shook his hand, his smug, firm grip lasting just a second too long. The whole dinner was a show. Madison twirled her hair, leaned closer to him, laughed at his every word, and touched his arm more times than I could count. I was the one paying the bill. I was the one who waited when she cried over that same guy. I was the one who pulled her out of debt, who believed in her when her family gave up. And now, I was the backup plan. The fool. I didn't say a word that night. Not even when she kissed me on the cheek afterward like nothing happened. But something broke in me that evening. And in that silence, a storm began to brew. Because if she thought I'd stay quiet, she didn't know me at all. Madison Walker wasn't the kind of girl people forgot. She had that kind of beauty that left people breathless for reasons they couldn't explain, sharp blue eyes that never blinked first, a voice like honey over broken glass, and the kind of laugh that made men feel like kings. I met her 3 years ago at a mutual friend's gallery opening. I was the guy refilling drinks. She was the woman whose presence turned the room into orbit. I remember spilling Chardonnay on my own shoes when she asked my name. "Caleb," I said, like an idiot. "Caleb Stone." She smirked. "Stone, huh? You look more like someone who breaks than someone who's unbreakable." I should have known then. But I fell hard, and fast. Madison was an aspiring fashion editor. At the time, she was broke, recently dumped, and emotionally wrecked from a toxic 3-year relationship with Liam Hayes, a cocky trust fund writer with more charm than morals. She told me he cheated. Repeatedly. Gaslit her. Even once pushed her out of his car in the rain. I was the rebound. But back then, I didn't care. She cried in my arms. I helped her pay her rent. Got her a job interview through a friend at a magazine I freelanced for. Moved her into my condo when her landlord kicked her out. Bit by bit, I started putting her back together. And maybe that was the problem. Madison wasn't someone who liked being fixed. She liked being admired. Worshipped. Desired. She told me she loved me 6 months in. I believed her. Maybe she even meant it at the time. But things changed once she started to rise. New friends. Glamorous events. Suddenly, I was no longer the guy saving her. I was the guy holding her back. The magazine hired her full-time, she started getting noticed online, and soon enough, photographers began following her street-style shots. She began calling herself an emerging influencer. We started arguing about things we never used to. Why don't you dress better when we go out? Do you always have to order the cheapest thing? You're so good, Caleb. Safe. I don't have to worry about you. Safe. That word again. Safe wasn't sexy. Safe was what she said when she looked at me with gratitude, not love. I noticed the shift. The way her phone would light up and she'd smile down at it before flipping it over. How she'd get home later. How she stopped needing me, but didn't leave. Because even if she was chasing something shinier, something riskier. She still needed something to fall back on. Me. And then she asked me to come to dinner with a friend. That word, too. Friend. I should have known. When we walked into that restaurant and she saw Liam sitting there, leaned back in his seat like he already knew he was winning, I understood everything. She wasn't trying to hide anything. She was testing me. Seeing just how far I'd go to prove I was safe. She thought I'd sit there like a doormat while she flirted across the table. That I'd pay for dinner like a gentleman. That I'd go home and thank her for choosing me over the guy who broke her. She was wrong. Because something had shifted in me too. That night didn't just break my heart, it rewired it. I started looking at things differently. Watching how she smiled at her phone. How she paused her texts when I walked into the room. I noticed the way she lingered on Instagram, stalking Liam's page, pretending she was over him while commenting under his posts with inside jokes. I noticed. And I stopped pretending. She didn't know I'd quietly taken over a small startup she used to belittle, an app that recently sold a patent to a tech giant for mid-seven figures. She didn't know I wasn't broke anymore. She didn't know I'd been quiet, because I was planning. Because if she thought flirting with her ex in front of me was humiliating. She hadn't seen anything yet. You were never supposed to see those messages, Caleb. She said it with mascara still smudged under her eyes. Not because she had cried, but because she had rushed to delete things when she heard my footsteps in the hallway, rushed to cover her tracks. And now she was caught. 3 days after the dinner with Liam, I came home early from work. Madison wasn't expecting me. I should have knocked. But instead, I opened the door to our bedroom, and froze. She was on the bed, curled up, phone glowing in her hand, and Liam's voice crackling through the speaker. Not FaceTime. Not a call. A voice message. I miss your voice, Mads. Don't let that safe guy dull your spark again. And her response was still typed in the message box. He's dull, Liam. So dull. But he's comfortable. I just need a little longer. A little longer for what? My heart didn't beat. It stopped. She hadn't noticed me yet. She was too busy smiling like a teenager with a crush. I backed out of the room so quietly, even the floor didn't creak. I walked to the living room, sat down on the edge of the couch, and stared at the floor. There it was. Proof. Confirmation that dinner wasn't a test. It was a warning. And I missed it. 10 minutes later, she came out of the room, phone in hand, and froze when she saw me. Her smile died on her lips. You're home early, she said, her voice trembling just slightly. I heard the message, I said. And I saw your reply. She didn't deny it. She just looked down. Her silence was louder than any scream. I thought we were past this, I said, my voice so low it barely sounded like mine. I thought you wanted to build something with me. Madison's eyes darted, calculating, cornered. It's not what it sounds like. Then explain it. She walked to the kitchen, pouring herself a glass of water, anything to avoid my eyes. It's complicated. I laughed bitterly. You're texting your ex and calling me dull. Seems simple enough. Then she snapped. Do you want the truth? She hissed. Fine. You're dependable, Caleb. You show up. You pay bills. You ask nothing. But you don't ignite anything. You don't scare me. Liam does. That dinner. She stopped herself. I leaned forward. That dinner was what? She looked away. It was supposed to show him that I still had power over him. That I could make him jealous. But you ended up making me jealous, I said, standing now. She scoffed. Please. You don't do jealous. You just sit there with that blank face, being mature. Emotionally stable. Emotionally boring. I stared at her, the woman I once loved beyond logic. The woman who now stood before me, emotionally bankrupt. You used me, I said. I needed stability, she snapped. And you gave it. But that doesn't mean I didn't care. I laughed, an ugly, hollow sound. You cared until someone shinier showed up. She set the glass down, louder than necessary. So what now? You gonna pack up and leave like some sad little man? No, I said slowly. I'm going to do something much worse. That made her look up. Because for the first time in our entire relationship, I wasn't sad. I wasn't patient. I wasn't safe. I was done. That night, I didn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling as the betrayal calcified inside me. All those months of thinking she just needed time. Of believing I was building something real. All a lie. And now I knew why she never introduced me to her coworkers. Why she always kept her phone locked. Why Liam's name had come up accidentally in stories. Why she started dressing differently, not for me, but for someone she was still trying to impress. I started piecing it all together. There was no emotional slip. It was a strategy. She was keeping me close until Liam came crawling back for real. Until she could discard me without consequences. What she didn't know. I already had a plan in motion. She had laughed at my dead-end app last year when I told her I was investing in a side project. Said I should focus on being a provider. That same app had just signed an exclusive integration deal with a European retailer. And in 6 days, there'd be a launch party. Guest list. Madison's entire industry. Editors. CEOs. Influencers. And me. But she wouldn't be by my side. She'd be watching from the outside. Alone. He's investing in your app, Caleb. Don't you get it? Liam's behind the deal. It was supposed to be my moment. The product launch was 5 days away. After years of sacrifice, doubt, and silence, Thrive, my once ridiculed app, was about to go public. The media had started whispering about it. Investors were finally circling. Madison didn't know, of course. She still thought I was the same background character in her designer-tinged movie. She hadn't even noticed I'd stopped coming home early. That I'd moved my base of operations to a sleek co-working space downtown. She didn't notice a lot lately, because she was too busy meeting with brands and collaborating with creatives. But I noticed everything. And then came the curveball. It was Luke, my old college roommate and business partner, who pulled me aside during a board meeting. Got some interesting news about the investor coming in through that European venture group, he said, his voice low. You're not going to like it. I blinked. Who? He looked me dead in the eyes. Liam Hayes. My stomach clenched. I thought I'd misheard. What the hell are you talking about? Luke handed me a tablet. An internal investor document showed a series of shell companies funneling money into our parent holding. At the bottom, it traced back to an independent fund in Copenhagen, one recently acquired by Hayes Holdings. Liam's trust fund empire. He wasn't just texting Madison. He was buying his way into my future. Rage flooded my chest. But something else crept in too. Doubt. What if Madison knew? What if she'd orchestrated the whole thing? What if the dinner wasn't just a mind game, but a handoff? What if I wasn't the one being played for revenge, but for access? I left the meeting early, brain on fire. When I got home that night, she was on the couch, smiling at her phone again. I didn't speak. I just tossed the tablet onto her lap. She picked it up lazily, until her eyes registered what she was looking at. Then her smile vanished. Say something, I said quietly. She looked like a child caught shoplifting. It's not what you think. You're still in contact with him. I heard the message. You flirted with him in front of me. Now he's an investor in my company. I didn't know about the investment, she snapped, a little too quickly. I swear to God, Caleb. You didn't. I asked, arms crossed. So that dinner wasn't about making sure Liam had a front row seat to the company I built. She stood. You're paranoid. Am I? Liam reached out to me after that dinner, she said. He said he wanted to rekindle a professional friendship. I thought he was just being petty. I didn't know he was tying himself into your business. My voice dropped. And you didn't think to warn me? She hesitated, just long enough to confirm everything. Because I didn't want to mess things up for you, she said finally, her tone weak, wrong. You've worked so hard. I stared at her, trying to remember the woman I once trusted with my future. That woman was gone. You didn't protect me, Madison. You exposed me. She walked to the window, arms folded, jaw clenched. You don't understand what it's like to be me. People take from me, use me. You think I had some master plan to sabotage you? No. I just wanted to finally win. By standing next to me at the finish line. She didn't answer. That was her answer. The next morning, I moved out. I left no note, no fight. Just silence, and a lock screen photo on her phone that still showed the two of us, smiling, before she burned it all down. But things were far from over. 3 days later, the launch party. It was held in a private event space overlooking the bay, modern, candlelit, overflowing with industry power players. Madison wasn't invited. But she came anyway. She arrived in a white slip dress like it was a wedding and she was the bride everyone forgot to show up for. Photographers noticed. People whispered. She walked in like she belonged, until she saw me. Standing beside Olivia Chase. My former boss. Editor-in-chief of True Edge magazine. A woman Madison used to call an industry dinosaur. Now. She looked at Olivia like she was Medusa. Because Olivia wasn't just holding a champagne flute. She was holding my hand. I leaned in and whispered something in Olivia's ear. She laughed, too loudly, too perfectly. Madison's face froze. She stormed over, furious. What the hell is this? She spat. Madison, I said calmly. I didn't know you were invited. I wasn't. What is she doing here? She helped me get the app national exposure, I said. And unlike you, she never doubted me. Madison's expression cracked. You're with her now, she hissed. I didn't speak. I just tossed the tablet onto her lap. She picked it up lazily, until her eyes registered what she was looking at. Then her smile vanished. Say something, I said quietly. She looked like a child caught shoplifting. It's not what you think. You're still in contact with him. I heard the message. You flirted with him in front of me. Now he's an investor in my company. I didn't know about the investment, she snapped, a little too quickly. I swear to God, Caleb. You didn't. I asked, arms crossed. So that dinner wasn't about making sure Liam had a front row seat to the company I built. She stood. You're paranoid. Am I? Liam reached out to me after that dinner, she said. He said he wanted to rekindle a professional friendship. I thought he was just being petty. I didn't know he was tying himself into your business. My voice dropped. And you didn't think to warn me? She hesitated, just long enough to confirm everything. Because I didn't want to mess things up for you, she said finally, her tone weak, wrong. You've worked so hard. I stared at her, trying to remember the woman I once trusted with my future. That woman was gone. You didn't protect me, Madison. You exposed me. She walked to the window, arms folded, jaw clenched. You don't understand what it's like to be me. People take from me, use me. You think I had some master plan to sabotage you? No. I just wanted to finally win. By standing next to me at the finish line. She didn't answer. That was her answer. The next morning, I moved out. I left no note, no fight. Just silence, and a lock screen photo on her phone that still showed the two of us, smiling, before she burned it all down. But things were far from over. 3 days later, the launch party. It was held in a private event space overlooking the bay, modern, candlelit, overflowing with industry power players. Madison wasn't invited. But she came anyway. She arrived in a white slip dress like it was a wedding and she was the bride everyone forgot to show up for. Photographers noticed. People whispered. She walked in like she belonged, until she saw me. Standing beside Olivia Chase. My former boss. Editor-in-chief of True Edge magazine. A woman Madison used to call an industry dinosaur. Now. She looked at Olivia like she was Medusa. Because Olivia wasn't just holding a champagne flute. She was holding my hand. I leaned in and whispered something in Olivia's ear. She laughed, too loudly, too perfectly. Madison's face froze. She stormed over, furious. What the hell is this? She spat. Madison, I said calmly. I didn't know you were invited. I wasn't. What is she doing here? She helped me get the app national exposure, I said. And unlike you, she never doubted me. Madison's expression cracked. No, Olivia cut in smoothly. Not yet. But I see potential. She winked at me. People were watching now. Madison leaned in, her voice low. You think humiliating. You're with her now, she hissed. That's the thing about people like Madison. They never apologize for what they did. They only apologize for what it cost them. So I told her to meet me at my office. I wanted her to think there was still a chance, still hope. That maybe she could talk her way out of this mess. Manipulate me one last time. And when she walked in, dressed like the woman I used to love, I almost believed it. Almost. Her eyes welled up the moment she saw me. I messed up, she whispered. I stayed seated. I was selfish. I didn't know how to be loved properly. You were so good to me, Caleb. And I didn't know what to do with that. You knew what to do with Liam, I said coldly. Tears streamed down her cheeks. I just wanted to feel powerful. And you made me feel safe. But safe started to feel like invisible. That's not your fault. It's mine. For a moment, the room fell quiet. Then I nodded. You're right. Her eyes lit up, hope igniting like a match. Then I slid the file folder across the desk. She opened it. Photos. Screenshots. Transcripts. Emails. Even a termination notice from the podcast host. Her fingers trembled. What is this? Everything, I said. Every lie. Every time you thought I wasn't watching. Every person you manipulated. You're trying to ruin me, she breathed. No, Madison, I said softly. You ruined yourself. I just handed people the camera. She looked up, and for the first time, truly, she looked afraid. Because she realized she had no idea who I really was. Step 4, finish the story. I released the app launch campaign a day early. Not just a product announcement, but a personal story. A cleanly shot, emotionally raw video titled The Startup That Was Born from Betrayal. It wasn't petty. It wasn't dramatic. It was honest. I didn't name her. I didn't have to. The audience knew. Those who followed Madison pieced it together immediately. Comments poured in. Damn, the twist in this story hit harder than expected. The girl who called him safe just lost the best thing in her life. Who needs reality TV when we have Caleb Stone? The app soared to number 3 on the lifestyle charts within 48 hours. Investors were happy. Olivia was thrilled. And me? I felt free. 2 weeks later. She tried one last time. This time, it was a letter. Handwritten. Left with the doorman at my condo. I never stopped loving you. I just didn't know how to love the right way. I'll always wonder what could have been. Madison. I folded it, placed it in a drawer, and never read it again. Because wondering what could have been. That was her punishment. Mine was success. On my own terms. A month later, Olivia and I sat at a rooftop bar. She glanced at her phone, smirking. Your ex just started following me. I sipped my drink. Block her. She raised an eyebrow. You sure? I leaned back, watching the skyline burn orange in the sunset. If she wants to see how this ends, she'll have to buy a ticket like everyone else. We laughed. Not because it was funny. So if you've ever trusted the wrong person. If you've ever been stabbed in the back and forced to smile through it. If you've ever rebuilt yourself from ground zero while the world watched and doubted. Then hit that subscribe button, and don't miss what comes next. Because revenge might be over. But the truth? That's just getting started.